In the realm of literature, a retreat can transform into legend, much like Zhang Fei's legendary stand in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Facing a force of 5,000 with only 30 men, he stood alone on the narrow bridge, the only path of attack, mounted on his horse. Meanwhile, the rest of his group tied branches to their horses' tails and raced back and forth, 100 meters behind, concealed by the thick foliage. This created a curtain of smoke and dust, causing the enemy to hesitate and stall their advance. This daring tactic provided crucial time for their own forces to retreat further away. In the realm of reality, warfare is a clash of systems, encompassing firepower, reconnaissance, logistics, environment, and skill set qualities. Consider the instance of the German Army's Modell orchestrating the Lezhef retreat in March 1943 during World War II. They fortified multiple layers of defensive lines to significantly hinder the Soviet forces' advancing speed. Numerous reconnaissance units were dispatched to surveil the movements of the opposing Soviet army. Modell adopted measures of concealed organization and strict discipline. First, each unit reported their retreat plans in advance. Then, they deployed reconnaissance and deception, carefully charting escape routes. A retreat command center was established, solely dedicated to managing the retreat operations. Detailed responsibilities were assigned for the pre-retreat, during retreat, and post-retreat phases, akin to meticulously completing the entire retreat plan on paper. The key lay in secrecy and precaution. Modell prohibited radio communication, instead laying dedicated telephone lines along the route, employing manual or telephonic communication for transmitting orders. The scorched earth policy was implemented along the retreat route. Starting on February 21, the process began with civilians, hospitals, and logistical support units, followed by combat units on the 28th. The entire retreat process was executed with precision. By the time the last unit was 30 kilometers out of Lezhef, they commenced laying defensive mines and destroying bridges along the route. By the time they were 50 kilometers away, the Soviets began their pursuit, but it was already too late. Returning to the Battle of Shirpai, on May 31. Lu Xinghe, the commander of the 33rd Regiment, noticed a sudden reduction in the intensity of the Japanese forces' attack. He immediately called Hu Lian to report that the Japanese troops were beginning to withdraw. Hu Lian ordered the regiment to send 1 or 2 companies for a probing attack. Lu promptly led the 2nd Battalion to flank the enemy's position, bypassing the front, and discovered a significant number of Japanese soldiers gathered in one location. Quickly, Lu ordered the 2nd Battalion to spread out in a skirmish formation and withhold their fire until they were completely deployed, then concentrate their firepower to suppress the Japanese soldiers. However, before the unit could reach their attacking position, they were spotted by the Japanese. The Japanese counterattack was not particularly fierce, and they soon began to flee. This information reached the headquarters of the 11th Division, and Hu Lian realized that the Japanese were indeed retreating. Classic military doctrine advocates a staggered retreat. Yet after years of fighting the Japanese perceived Chinese forces to possess weak firepower. This led them to concentrate their units for a unified retreat, which actually made the Chinese apprehensive of potential losses, thus preventing them from launching aggressive attacks. The Japanese, therefore, opted for a concentrated retreat. However, Hu Lian had already calculated the terrain nearby using mortar measurements. Furthermore, the sudden shift from an offensive to a retreat meant that the Japanese and Chinese positions overlapped. Organizing a retreat, conveying orders, and maintaining secrecy were all challenging tasks. Consequently, during the retreat, the withdrawal route was unavoidably exposed to enemy fire control. Arrogantly, the Japanese had not prepared for a retreat. Hu Lian dispatched numerous personnel to deliver orders, demanding that each unit use mortars according to pre-calculated measurements. Through this counterattack, Hu Lian used mortars to transform the Japanese retreat from a coordinated effort into a scattered one, effectively dispersing their formations. Although the Japanese military history describes it as separate individual retreats, in reality, units below the regimental level lost contact. In the participating 2 divisions, 7 battalion commanders were killed and 3 were wounded. Among the independently operating 17th Mixed Brigade, 5 battalion commanders were killed, and 1 was wounded. The extent of the losses is evident.